Welcome to video 1-5. Solve a quadratic equation by taking square roots. Here's the example. Solve 1/2 times x minus 3 squared plus 5 equals 17. Three basic steps. Isolate the squared term, plus or minus square root, and then simplify to solve. All right, here we go. So this is the squared term. So we want to first isolate that. The first thing we do is we subtract 5. Not multiply, because then we'd have to distribute, so first subtract 5. So minus 5, and I get 1/2 times x minus 3 squared equals 12. Then take care of that coefficient. You could divide each side by 1/2. We don't like doing that. It's much easier to just multiply each side by the reciprocal. So multiply this side by 2/1 and multiply this side by 2/1. Cancel, cancel. X minus 3 squared equals 24. Now that I've got this isolated, then what undoes squaring? Not just square rooting, plus or minus square rooting. What we'll do is we will take the square root of this side and plus or minus the square root of that side. And when we take the square root of something squared, we just get one of those factors. So for example, the square root of smiley face squared is just smiley face. All right, so in this case, we're going to get x minus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 24. And again, over here, we're assuming that the insides are positive. All right, then what we're going to do is add 3. And some students get confused here. I always emphasize add and subtract just in front of the plus or minus. So I now have x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 24. We always want to report our answers in exact simplified form. This has some perfect square factors, so I'm going to change that. So this is the same thing as 3 plus or minus 24 is 4 by 6. The reason I did that, the square root of 4 is just 2. The book will report the answer that way. On my tests, usually I want 2 answer blanks, x sub 1 and x sub 2. So x sub 1 equals, x sub 2 equals. And usually I try to put the lower numbers first. So x sub 1 is going to be 3 minus 2 rad 6. And x sub 2 will be 3 plus 2 rad 6. And that's how I'm going to want you to report your answers on my quizzes and tests. So there you have it, how to solve a quadratic equation by taking square roots.